breaking down Frenship sports. This is the Tigers Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Good Wednesday evening. Welcome into the High School Fan Zone on the second week of February. I'm not jumping.
Still January.
You want to jump ahead to February yet?
We're good right now.
Okay, we're still in January. Second show since we got back from the Christmas break. We're going to get into the Tiger Fan Zone here. There's some Tiger news out there, too, that we're going to mention before we get on here. But Paul Page, the Frenship boys coach, is with me. I just did a podcast with you, but we're going to talk about some of the same stuff, so you're well-versed in what we're going to chat about. Go. But as I mentioned, there's some news out of the Frenship ISD today. I'm sure you saw this, Paul. I don't know if you went over and met.
No, I have no service in my office, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, Frenship ISD has introduced.
I teach 4 classes a day, 121 kids, Randy.
The inaugural football coach for the Memorial Football Program has been named. Jason Richards, a Clovis native who played for Eric Roanhouse, which you've been around this area long.
Never heard of.
Never heard of?
No.
You're basketball-centric, aren't you? Jason Richards is coming from Muleshoe. You heard of Muleshoe?
Yes.
And
not Jason Richards.
He's coming from a 3A school, which the last couple of times Friendship's hired a coach from a 3A school, it's turned out okay, right?
Absolutely.
Because I believe Seminole was a 3A back then?
We were about to move up 4A. Yeah.
I think Trent Hilliard came from 3A Lubbock Cooper, so that's been a pretty good recipe out there.
But we were going to 6A at that time.
You jumped up.
Not staying at that same level. So
we'll mention the other piece of news.
Skins on the wall.
We'll mention the other piece of news that ties into that, because I asked Tony Wagner this today. The last time Frenship and Estacado played as district teams was before you got to Frenship, correct?
Right. We were in the same district for a couple of years, my last couple of years.
But at Seminole.
Right, at Seminole.
Okay. Because last night's environment for Estacado Liberty was really good. It was really fun for two city teams, the fans for two city teams. And, of course, your friend reached a milestone last night. He got his 500th win at Estacado, which is a big number.
I've been on both sides of that.
I was going to say, you've given him a few L's, but he's given you a few.
Right.
I would have loved to have seen it. Not that you two aren't energetic. Somebody asked me this the other day. Somebody mentioned, Joe Sexton, in fact, was like, I don't know how a basketball coach can sit there and coach from his chair. I said, have you ever watched Paul Page or Tony Wagner coach? There ain't no sitting.
No, you do what you practice.
Yep, and you guys have practiced well because you guys are playing really well. We'll slide over to the Frenship discussion now. 19-6, coming off of what I told you the other day.
I think we're 17-7.
17-7?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you some.
We're not there yet.
All right, well, you're right.
We got work to do.
I'm thinking of I've got Tony Wagner on my mind. They're now 19-6.
Okay.
But I told you you beat San Angelo Central the other day, 75-69. I've covered you guys since I got back. Since you've coached there longer than I've had my site, but since I've gotten back and started the site, I've covered you guys a bunch.
Right.
That may be the most impressive win against a really good team that I've seen you guys play, because you had to play well. You had to weather their storm a little bit early, and you guys really played well for 4 quarters to beat a really good team.
Right, and it was a deal. We knew that, and they had been playing well all year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where they weren't sneaking up on anybody, and so we just kind of paying attention to Central this year, and they've done a lot of good things. Got a good pieces, and new coach, and Coach Jeter has moved over from the girls' side at Central to the boys' side, so he had some ownership a little bit there. And so he took that job this summer and has done a good job with them, and they've got some great pieces with their guard play, and then the TK, the really good basketball looking kid, really.
Talmadge Taylor, I think is his.
Yeah, and so we knew it was going to be tough, and sure enough, it's obviously nothing for them to lose, really, coming on the road 3 hours on the first district game, and so everything to gain. And so we knew that we were going to take some blows and have to give some blows, and it was one of those games where, it just came down to the last few possessions, and we were able to hold on and get that win.
I mentioned this in the story I wrote, and I think Central is probably the best example of this. The style you guys have embraced and played so well the last several years, I think other teams have started to emulate that a little bit. And Central came out and came out and said, okay, we're going to go up and down with you a little while. And
right.
You guys, they did it well early on.
They did, and they shut the ball well early.
Yes.
And that's it's kind of a false, we like to call it a false hope, because we do give you looks, and you better make them. And then if you do make them early, you feel confident, so you keep shooting them, and then you get tired, and those shots don't fall in the third and fourth quarter. So it's kind of a false sense of security when they do fall early, and then you still have to play at that pace that maybe not you didn't practice, and you haven't done all year, and then your legs start to give a little bit down the stretch, and sure enough, that happened the other night with San Angelo Central.
I'll throw this name out here because I know you know this name, Ralph Tasker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The 1 year I diverted to New Mexico, the last 28 years, I guess, I covered Las Cruces High School in a first-round state tournament game, and they played Hobbs. And the Las Cruces coach, in preparation for that, had his guys play against 8 defenders in practice, which I would think that teams maybe think about that when they're getting ready to face you, because you guys there's just Tigers all over the place when you're playing defense. Right,
and we try to create that. We try to say we want to increase their pulse. Get their heart rate up, and feel. Sometimes even when they're not pressured, they feel pressured. So, definitely, that's a way to try to combat that. Would be to have more dudes out there.
Well, your guys' pulse the other day was pretty good, and it wasn't just the two guys that everybody always knows about are going to be Patton Pinkins and Chase Campbell. And I told you this the other day in the podcast. I think people forget sometimes that Chase was actually the district player of the year last year.
Right.
Because Patton was out hurt. That's a pretty good combination to build around. But for you guys the other night, it was J.J. Davis, it was Maverick Allen, it was Daniel Gideon, it was Hayden Wilson. It was those guys that don't necessarily grab the hot headlines all the time that I thought made a big difference.
And that's huge. Those are huge pieces to any team. Great teams that have the glue guys that just will do a lot of the dirty work, and those guys do that. I mean, they practice that way, and that's why they play that way. And so as a result, that they're guys we count on. I mean, we'll lean on defensively. They share the ball, and when everything clicks like that, and you have those guys come in and do that, it's fun. It makes for a fun atmosphere.
And I don't want anybody in the Nellums family mad at me because I was saving Keanthony to talk about when we come back after the break, and I'm going to try it here. And Keanu Montano.
Right.
Did I get it right?
You did good.
That was the first time I've said it out loud. We'll come back, and I'll try more words when we come back on the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 FM, The Score.
Breaking down Frenship Sports. This is the Tigers Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Back to the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta. I'm with Frenship boys basketball coach Paul Page. To the left of me, if you're watching on TV, he's the younger, better-looking one.
That's right.
Younger, right?
Yeah.
I've got a few years on you. I promised I was going to bring Keanthony and Nellums back up, so here we go. We talked the other day, and I don't want to put any onus on that young man because Tracy Godfrey was a really good player for you by the time he left. But I see a lot of similarities in the evolution as they're going here. That Keanthony is what, 6'6", 6'7"?
Right, 6'6", 6'7", long,
and
athletic.
He just from day one this season. Now he played a little bit last year, right?
He did.
Okay,
he did,
I remembered him last year.
Player. Yeah.
But from the start of this year, when I saw you guys early to now, he's growing and growing and growing. He's becoming a guy that you're able to lean on and rely on in a lot of different ways.
Right, we've kind of moved him around a little bit. He runs the front of our press. It's good to have 6'6" on the front of the press. And then we kind of stretched him out and played him at the 4 this year, and so he starts there at the 4 and then guards all 5 spots sometimes. We were able to put him on TK, their best player at San Angelo Central the other day, and so he just has that flexibility. And then once again, with his length, he can go inside, and he's becoming more physical. So that's kind of the progression we want him to have now is just become more physical inside.
I think he's a perfect example of the answer that Maverick Allen gave me the other day when he was talking about you guys. He said, we know Patton Pinkins is going to score points for us. We know Chase Campbell's going to score points for us. We need other guys who can embrace doing other things. Keanthony, if he rebounds and gives you good interior defense, he's going to play a huge role for you.
Right. I think he blocked 5 shots last night.
Wow.
So he does bring that presence, that interior presence also. So, and which is huge that you have that eraser sitting there as aggressive as our defense is. You're gonna get beat backdoor sometimes, and you have that guy sitting there to help alleviate some of that.
And that spares you from Patton, who's also 6'6".
Right.
Am I giving
6'5", yeah.
From him having to check one of their big guys and potentially avoids foul trouble. I covered an LSU team that a guy named Tyrus Thomas who turned that exact art into being the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. He didn't have to do much except try to stand back there and block shots and let other guys do their thing. That's a nice ingredient to have for you guys. You did a lot of things well last night too. We talked about San Angelo Central. I kind of wanted to avoid 72-18. Was that the final last night?
It was.
72 was good for you. I don't know if Midland wants to talk much about the 18.
It was good. I mean, it was a game. We haven't. It's kind of been a gauntlet for us since basically our tournament. We played a pretty tough schedule. I would say one of the toughest schedules in the state, and by choice.
Right.
We did that, and some by force because we don't really have many teams to play, so we have to go chase games, and so we've done that. And through that, our schedule has really just been really hard, and because of that, it's been close and tough and grindy, And so we haven't had one of those games like last night, and so it was good to kind of help us kind of get back to creating a little bit more bench depth and see what those guys could do. And so that was good for us last night to be able to do that, knowing that we're going to go back to Midland on Friday night.
And that will be a little bit different because this is a better Midland Legacy team. They're same records you guys, 17-7, 2-0 in district, so it's an early matchup of 2 teams in first place, and then the following Friday you go down and play Odessa Permian. That's the other team in that mix.
Right.
What about Midland Legacy from looking at them on video has your attention?
Well, they're deep. They're deeper. Coach Sutter plays a lot of guys, and they're playing fast. They're playing kind of our tempo, pressing, and some man jump, and so it should be pretty back and forth, kind of identical. You said that earlier that some teams are trying to emulate that, and that's kind of what they're doing, and he has the depth to do it. So it should be fun to get ready and prepare for them, but also kind of see a little bit of what we do and what they do.
And that's 7:30 p.m. Friday back at the Shep Center. It's kind of a unique setting. You go back to the same arena twice in 1 week. We talked on the podcast a little bit about how it's not going to be anything different to your guys. You played in all these nice gyms, and that's a nice junior college arena in the middle of West Texas. So that will, I believe, be on 97.3 FM. I believe Choice is on that road trip. So that's going to wrap us up on the Tiger Zone on 100.7 The Score. We'll be back after the break with the Pirate Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta.